Union Development Officer. The Union Development Officer leads on events, fundraising and sustainability. They work with USU's events team to create events and foster a socially responsible student community.
Hi, so in your manifesto, or at least the version I've been given, you talk about being a course rep as an example of a position of leadership. And then you mentioned that you've had other positions of leadership in other countries and other places. Would you be able to define what those are?
Okay. First of all, I was working as a process engineer for the Egyptian chemical industries company, which is one of the most largest fertilizer companies in the Middle East. During my studies, we didn't have the possibility for the practical application of the science we received. So after graduation, after started my job, I contacted the supervisor of the internship in our faculty and also the general manager in my company. And after this, we submitted like a request for training the students for like 60 students annually. You can imagine that before I'm working with this company, it was like only 10 people usually annually. But with my initiative at that time, we succeeded in like training more than 170 students on the largest like equipments in the fertilizer company. This is one of my largest leadership qualities.
Thank you. And you also mention having demonstrated this leadership. Obviously, you've just elaborated on that, which is very helpful. But you described having demonstrated direct and indirect communication. What do you exactly mean by that? Because I feel like that just means communication. And how would you apply that in this position?
Okay. As I mentioned, I contacted lots of people. One of them was my supervisor, my last supervisor in the university. And I already graduated from the university, so this is like indirect contact. The direct contact was my previous supervisor in this position, Dr. Higazi. And the another thing, I faced some problems, obstacles with the company. For example, they didn't provide any like fund for the trainees or like housing or food for the trainees. So I used my communication with friends and other people to provide the trainees with like food and housing in this city, which is more than 14 hours far away from the capital of Egypt.
Okay. And how would you plan to have these same pieces of dialogue with the York student body now? I mean, it's easy to sort of contact the people you're friends with. How do you want to make yourself accessible to everyone on campus?
Now, according to my job as a course rep, I can do this, and also I have a good experience with communication, as I mentioned, and I'm serving as a part-time officer for the GSA now. So I can contact with lots of people on the internet as well or in person to solve lots of problems, like as I mentioned, the GSA part-time problems.
And with your transforming food waste sort of sustainable campus plans, which according to my notes, I was kind of confused here. Do you want to buy more from local businesses, or is the plan to recycle more and then use the waste for local businesses? Like, are we trying to give them compost, or are we trying to buy their produce?
This is a very good question. First of all, I know that there is lots of food, tons of foods are unconsumed, for example, and we have lots of unavoidable food waste, for example, eggshells or the food itself. So we can use this food to produce, for example, energy efficient, like biofuel, bioethanol, for example.
Does the university have the means to do this, or would this need a lot of investment, which doesn't really seem to be available?
No, it's available because I'm studying green chemistry and sustainable industrial technologies. So we can convert the food waste into like very valuable products. For example, my project about using corrosion control engineering from the waste. And another point, doing something like fees on people who don't like pay great attention on the waste.
Yeah, about the carbon offset fees, are those fees for, say, the student union bars, or are those fees for the local businesses? Because it didn't seem very clear.
Yeah, it's like it will be taken from the local businesses. For example, if I have waste, I should take like my responsibility to do the best with this waste.
And what exactly did you mean by increasing first bus services?
According to my rule, as I mentioned as the GSA, lots of people talk to me about using the bus services for, like, for example, Fulford Road and Halifax as well.
Okay, so would it be expanding how much of that's covered as opposed to like increasing the frequency?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
Yes, a number of buses as well. And from the previous point, we can use food waste to produce bioethanol, which can we use for the bus running.
Just to cycle back to that again, do you have any ideas in mind already of local businesses for this scheme, or would that require additional research once in the position?
Maybe we can. I can use my experience with like Cruda, for example, or lots of local businesses here that they already pay great attention about the sustainability, but we can increase this like knowledge about the sustainability by using the food waste as a resource. Not only the food waste, we can use the waste as a resource, as I mentioned.
Okay, and this role is obviously brand new due to the merging of the GSA with USU, and there's not really any precedent for how much could be accomplished within this position. How secure are you in the knowledge you could really enact most of these goals? Because they do seem like projects that will take quite a while to achieve.
Yeah.
And obviously it's going to be difficult to lobby for these things in a brand new position. What makes you feel confident about being able to accomplish these things?
I think it's like very easy to do this project because, for example, Brazil did this like in 1 year. So we can start with like limit volumes and we can increase the volumes of it. And yes, it's like very accessible to do it.
Okay, thank you. Another part of this position is the fundraising. I feel like this is very ecologically based. Do you have many plans in the way of fundraising for, say, other issues, or what events do you have planned for that?
Yes, I have something like an initiative, which I'll call it like our sustainable campus, to produce more green spaces, for example, and to increase the awareness about using the waste or the agricultural waste, as I mentioned, something like this. So we can increase the awareness about the environment and environment efficient practices, and also increase the inclusivity because, as I mentioned, I'm Egyptian, so you can imagine that I came from like very different conditions and background. So now I'm here.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. I guess if someone in the student body, you've already talked about making yourself accessible, direct communication. If someone were to come to you with a different issue than your main sort of ecological stances, how prepared do you feel like you would be to address those situations? You've definitely got like a lot of background in ecology and green issues. How much of those skills do you feel like would transfer to, say, I don't know, an issue of like sexism or someone feeling underrepresented in another form?
Okay, for this point, I demonstrated some like qualities in this field. 10 years ago, I was like working as a volunteer organizer for a hospital for providing blood bags for the poor people. So it's like very not related for the green or sustainability, but I can deal with this as well.
Great, thank you so much. I believe that is all we have time for now, and we're going to go to our next interview in Studio Blue with the next candidate. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.